Hello, I'm Ben,
I'm Michelle.
and today we're just going to have a little conversation about the things that we miss from back home. So I'm English, and
I'm Australian. So I come from the opposite side of the world where we do things a little differently.
I think being Australian or speaking Australian is different to speaking...
Completely.
Really?
When you met me the first time, you knew that I was Australian.
Ah, I guess I could hear you were Australian. And when you met me, could you tell I was English? Or...
Straight away.
Okay.
Yes.
It's because of my bowler hat and my umbrella,
Yes,
right?
it was. And your moustache?
And my moustache, of course.
La spinach or la bouchon.
But apart from that, what is it that makes us English or Australian? So when you come back from Australia, what do you bring back with you? What do you miss from Australia?
They always bring back some Vegemite.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know what Vegemite is? Vegemite is it's a spread that we put on our toast in the morning, and most people outside of Australia absolutely hate it because it's very, very salty, and it's just that people don't know how to eat it. That's why. So we start eating it when we're babies. It's actually the first thing that children eat when they eat solid food. You have a piece of toast with Vegemite.
But seriously, because in England, that's one of the cliches of Australia, right? Is that you all eat Vegemite. Is it true?
Well, yeah.
Okay. And is Vegemite a bit like Marmite? Do you know Marmite?
I do know Marmite. It's same but different. So Marmite is a little bit sweet. So it has a little bit of a sweet taste to it. So salty sweet. Whereas Vegemite is just hardcore salty.
Okay. So you genuinely bring back Vegemite.
I always
what
bring
else
back
do you
Vegemite.
bring back? What's your favourite Australian dish?
Oh, dish. Well, I can't bring back a dish, but I know that when I go back to Australia, one of the first things I love to eat is a meat pie.
Okay. So in England you have a meat pie, but a meat pie, you eat a meat pie. If it's called a meat pie, it's because we don't know what meat is in it. So you don't go to a nice restaurant and order the meat pie.
I'll have the meat pie then.
No, it's so. I mean, in England we have lots of pies, but delicious pies: chicken pie, steak and ale pie.
So where do you get a pie in the UK?
The pie shop.
The pie shop. Okay, so you have a pie shop can you buy anything else?
No, the pie shop doesn't really exist anymore. People eat pies from the supermarket. You can buy it. You eat pies in a restaurant. It's home cooking. Like a lot of English.
Can you get anything else but meat in a pie? I mean, I know it's called a meat pie, but in Australia, you can get lots of different types of pies. You can get a chicken pie, or you can get a lamb pie. It's all become very gourmet in Australia.
It's the same in England. So it's traditional. We think it's traditional English food. So maybe 20, 30 years ago, a meat pie was something you would eat at a football stadium. But now if you go to an English restaurant, get delicious steak and ale pie with...
Yeah, steak and kidney pie.
Steak and kidney pie, is that what you're...
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, steak and kidney pie. Pub food.
Yeah.
Chicken pie. Apple pie. It's a bit more American, though.
Yeah, apple pie is a bit more American. In Australia, the pies are more salty, so it's savoury, not sweet. So with the meat pie, first of all, it's like a rite of passage, but you absolutely have to burn your tongue. So it's always scaldingly hot, a meat pie. So the first thing you do is you take a massive bite, and then usually half of it falls down your shirt because it's so hot.
Okay.
And
Just
then
burning your mouth on a pie.
Yes.
This sounds very Australian
Yeah.
and not as sophisticated
no.
as England, where we like fish and chips and we eat that out of paper so that it doesn't dribble it down you don't dribble down your face.
We have fish and chips in paper, and I have to say that's one thing I actually do love when I go back is to go to the fish and chip shop and to get fish and chips, but with vinegar. I don't know if you like
malt
vinegar.
Sarson's malt vinegar and salt on the chips. And actually we've got a chippy, the fish and chip shop just down the road.
Is it chippy or a chipper?
A chippy.
Oh.
Do you say chipper in Australia?
No.
Okay.
No, but I was in the UK. I was in where was I? I was in Ireland, and it was the only thing that was open.
Chippy. For me, it's a chippy.
Chippy.
But obviously, things like chippy or contractions change all the way around the country, and you can have regional variations. But for me, it's a chippy. You go to the chippy, and you could choose what fish, hake, cod, normally a white fish.
White fish.
Deep fried in batter. But at the moment, where I live, and where my parents live in England, it's on the beach, and there's a great pub, again, the pub food, fish and chips or a pie on the beach, fantastic.
Beautiful.
Oh, when we come back from England, we do bring baked beans.
Oh yeah. Heinz?
Heinz baked beans.
Of course. This is not a commercial. It's just that Heinz baked beans really are the best. But not just baked beans, because in the morning, there's nothing better than having a bacon and eggs and baked bean breakfast.
Yeah, it's good,
Absolutely
balanced,
love it.
healthy food.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. From a greasy spoon.
Greasy spoon. And that's what I love about going to England, is that you go to the local greasy spoon. Tell me, what's a greasy spoon?
So a greasy spoon is a particular kind of a restaurant. It's not so sophisticated. Well, greasy means covered in fat. So in other words, it gets the name because it might not be the cleanest or most hygienic kind of restaurant in the world. And there are a few things. When I was at university, students would often go to greasy spoons.
It's cheap.
It's cheap. Often in the morning, you can get an early breakfast. It opens very early.
Yes.
So people would go, they would take their newspaper. And when you went to the greasy spoon, you'd come in and there would be a newspaper on the table. But usually on the table, you have tomato ketchup
Yes.
in a squeezy bottle that's the shape of a tomato. And you have a little brown sauce, of course.
Brown sauce. What is brown sauce? Like, I've seen them in restaurants or in those greasy spoons in England. What is the brown sauce? Is it a bit
Delicious
like-
HP sauce. I don't know what's in it.
Right.
It is
Better
very
not to.
good.
What
I
about
think it's okay.
Worcestershire sauce?
Worcestershire sauce is a beautiful sauce invented so that we can identify people who speak English but
Yes.
don't come from England.
Yes.
Because nobody can pronounce that.
No, because if you actually look at that word written, it's Worcestershire.
We're Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
Yeah, Worcestershire.
Sound like a
Yeah,
they
like-
sound like a hobbit.
Leicester or Leicester Square in London.
Mm-hmm.
Worcester in East of London. So they're common place names
Yeah.
in England.
And do you know that Worcestershire sauce is my secret ingredient in a lot of my cooking?
In your famous burgers?
Yes, always. And in bolognese sauce.
Okay.
You just put a little splash of Worcestershire sauce and it just gives you that beautiful
Makes it a little bit richer.
smoky flavour.
Okay. And okay, the most common time I have Worcestershire sauce is actually just on scrambled eggs. Breakfast, scrambled eggs, 2 slices of bread, scrambled eggs, Worcestershire sauce and pepper on each one, and suddenly what was just a very quick meal is delicious. It's a feast for a king.
There are so many other things that I could think about in terms of, what I really like to eat when I go back to Australia. One thing actually that I really love is eating different types of Asian food. Because, I come from Sydney, and in Sydney you have a lot of communities from Southeast Asia. So, we often go to Yum Cha on a weekend, which is a Chinese breakfast, where you sit in the restaurant and you have little trolleys coming around, and then they show you a lot of steamed dumplings and just amazing. So I like to do Yum Cha. I have to eat Thai food.
Okay.
I must. I also like to eat laksa, which is Malaysian. That's a Malaysian dish. I've got my favorite Korean bibimbap, and Japanese, of course.
That's similar. And to be honest, living in France is not very different to living in England. One of the differences that you notice is, maybe because French cooking is so famous and supposed to be so good, in every English town, every English village, you will find different restaurants, and you will find particularly Indian restaurants.
Yeah.
Have a good curry, and you might find Indian restaurants with Michelin stars, or you might find a takeaway Indian restaurant where the food is not great, but you find Kerala restaurants, Indian restaurants, Pakistani restaurants, Bangladeshi restaurants.
So you've got regional differences.
Yeah, lots of regional differences. And in France, I think you usually find restaurants that are just Indian.
Or
curry.
Yeah, or here the Asian, like the Vietnamese food is quite. Often it's a mix, so you often get sushi in a Vietnamese restaurant. But you know, that's okay. We're not in France to eat.
That's very kind of you.
Vietnamese
That's
food.
okay. I'm not going to judge.
I dare!
Anyway, all right. Well, I think we've covered everything. You know.
Well, we've talked mainly about food, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us today. And if you want to leave a comment about your favourite food when you go to England or even to Australia, don't forget your polly waffle.
I'm completely lost. Anyway, thanks. Bye.
Bye.